is wide open.
After the turnover.
He's got a man.
Harburg going deep. Caught.
Welcome, everyone. It's that time again, week 2, and this is a big one. It's a very big one. I'm not sure if Rule really knows how important this game is for us. I mean, I know every game is important, but he said he'd rather lose one of the first 3 games than at the end of the season. And I don't feel that way. I feel there's 2 games we must win, and that's Colorado and Iowa. Hell, I'll even throw Wisconsin in there, but definitely Colorado and Iowa. I tell you what, let's find out how many feel that winning this game is important to us. If you feel this game is important to win, then give this video a thumbs up and let's see how many there are. Today, I have some big recruiting news, a big recruiting announcement on a huge player Nebraska's been going after. So stay tuned for that. But first, I'm going to go over the game 2 versus Colorado and Nebraska, a rivalry game that goes back to way back to 1898. And no, I wasn't at that game. I had to work that day. Now, the Huskers do lead this series with 49 wins, 21 losses, including 2 ties. But Colorado's won the last 3 in a row, and they're going to try to do something they've never done in this 126 years. They've never beat Nebraska 4 times in a row. So they're going to be trying to do that. We're going to try to keep that streak alive, if you know what I mean. So first thing is, let's go over these teams and how they did in game 1, because let's kind of break these 2 teams down. And what I want to show you is that Colorado ended up rushing 23 times for 59 yards for a 2.57 average with no touchdowns. But they threw for 445 yards and 4 touchdowns in 34 attempts for a 504 total yards. So you could see they only had 57 plays and got 504 yards. So they know how to move the ball. They know what they're going to do when they move the ball, and it's not a surprise to anyone. And the Huskers were more balanced in these areas. They rushed for 223 yards on 47 attempts and 3 touchdowns, which is a 4.7 average. And they passed for 284 yards on 36 attempts and 2 touchdowns for a total of 507 yards. Now that means they ran 83 plays. And the great thing is the time of possession, as North Dakota State held the ball over Colorado for 36 minutes and 44 seconds to Colorado's 23 minutes and 16 seconds, while Nebraska held the ball over UTEP 38 and a half minutes to 21 and a half minutes. And this is going to be key, and I'm going to show you why. Because if you look at right here, the Colorado game, the stats, and you see rushing wise, they really kind of struggled. And this was against North Dakota State's defensive line. And they've tried to play a lot of zone. They try to back up a lot of guys. And so they only brought 4 or 5 people. And yet you could see right here that Dalen Hayden and Charlie Offerdahl, their 2 running backs, rushed 14 times for 35 yards. That's it. 14 times for 35 yards for about, I'd say about 2.5. If you take out Shadur and take out his 17, they only rushed for 42 yards on 17 carries. So you could see that's probably about 2.3, 2.4 maybe, an average. So it's key to keep Shadur. He was their leading rusher with 6 attempts, and he gained 23 yards, ended up with 17 because the sack goes as a run, takes it off the running stats. That's what you do. But Here's what's going to hurt you. This is, like I said, this is what's going to be Jimmy Horn, Travis Hunter, both caught the ball 7 times. Jimmy Horn had 198 yards, 1 touchdown. Travis had 132 yards and 3 touchdowns. This is key, guys. This is key. Even Wester had 5 catches for 58 and then a couple out of the backfield. So we're going to have to kind of control this, eliminate some of these big plays. If you jump over here to look at Nebraska's, here's where Nebraska is. This is key right here. See this? And I like Dante Dowdell. Rushed 8 times for 55 yards. His longest was only 12, so he was consistently running. I think he averaged about 8 yards a carry in that first quarter. Now, he did have that turnover and can't do that, but it is one, and I'm sure if he has another one, it probably that could be it for him. But I still think he's going to see the field, and I think they need to do what they did last week. I think they need to start off like they did, start off maybe with Ramir, and then bring in Dowdell and pound them, and then bring in Emmett and Gabe later on. And trust me, Dylan Raiola, who only played 2.5 quarters, trust me, if he'd have played the whole game like Shedeur did, he might have had 450 yards because he threw for 238 yards. He was 19 of 27, which was 70%, 70.3, and he only did 2.5. Really, 2 quarters and 5 minutes of a drive in the third quarter. And after that first drive, he never saw the field again. And so this is key. So I feel like, and that's going to get me to my 5 keys for this game, for the Huskers to win this game. And if you look at it, the first one I have, and it's very important, I think we all probably agree on this one, it's the secondary. They have to have a good game. They have to be able to control Travis Hunter and Jimmy Horn. Now, they're not going to stop them. I just don't see them. Man, I'd be impressed if they did. But they have to have a good game, and that's everyone. That ain't just the 5 starters back there, the veterans, because they're going to be rotating in the young guys. They all have to have a good game. And that's going to be key. The second key for Huskers to win this game, we must pressure Shedeur and keep him in the pocket. I don't exactly mean you got to get sacks. Sacks would be nice. What we got to hit him. We got to let him know we're there. We got to be in his face. We got to make him hurry up and throw when he doesn't need to throw. We got to keep him off balance. And another key, and this might be the biggest one I feel like for the Huskers to win. They're all good. They're all big, but we need to be able to control the clock. Because if you go back to the time of possession, North Dakota State held the ball for 36 minutes and 44 seconds to Colorado's 23-16. Nebraska against North Dakota or UTEP had the ball 38.5 minutes to UTEP's 21.5, and we kind of need similar numbers. So we're going to have to run. We need to control the clock. I like what we kind of did last week. We had some success last year against them. I feel like our offensive line is better. And I feel like we need to smash them in the mouth, run it right at them. And to me, if we're popping 4, 5, 6 yards at a time, we're getting a first down on 3 runs, first down on another 3 runs. I don't care if we don't throw a pass. Tom Osborne was good about taking what the other team gave him. I've seen him in one game throw for 5 touchdowns and then the next game rush for 400 yards. And he talked about he took what was given to him. So a lot of times, when they put everybody in the box, then he might do that play action. And we have the receivers and we have the quarterback now. So we're going to pound it and pound it. When they bring everybody in the box to stop it, that's when Dylan can maybe take a shot. But I'm telling you right now, if we could pound it enough where we could move the clock and move the chains running the ball, man, I'm old fashioned. I like stick with the basics. When you run the ball, there's less opportunity for mistakes. When you throw the ball, trust me, two of the three things are bad: incomplete or interception. Only one is good, and that's a completion. So I'd say control the clock is key. So run this ball. We have to be able to run this ball. Now, my third and, or excuse me, my fourth key, and we had something to do with this, us that's going to the game, and I'm going to this game, crowd noise. We need to let them know whose house this is. We need to be so loud where Shadur and them and that offense can't hear through that communication. They got to do hand signals, which helps the defense because they get to see the hand signals. So we got to be loud. And these night games are usually loud. They're not like the day games. And so this one, I think we need to take all that frustration from the last few years that Colorado's done and put it into this game more than ever. And my final key, and this one's big too, as we all know, no dumb mistakes, no turnovers, no penalties. And I understand mistakes are going to happen. It's the dumb ones, you know, ball just coming out when no one touches you, ball start down there by the goal line. If you could give us what you gave, if they could give us what they gave versus UTEP, 3 penalties and 1 turnover, I'll take it. I'd rather have no turnovers, but I think we all would take just 3 penalties and 1 turnover. And I do see them turning that corner here because that last week game was clean. And one of those penalties was at the end with like the third or fourth string in there, that last 15 yarder. So really the starters and them only had 2 penalties for 20 yards. So now it's prediction time. Now, I actually filmed this video 3 times. This is my third time as I'm really torn here because part of me says this is going to be a tight game all the way to the end. And it might even depend on who has the ball last. But another thing tells me since Nebraska's at home this year and they don't have to worry about that thin air in Colorado, which is what I felt got to the defense last year as the offense just kept putting the defense behind the 8 ball, turning the ball over, putting the defense back out there until finally by the end of the game they got wore out and the game kind of got a little out of hand. But this year it's in Lincoln for one, but two, I feel Raiola knows how to control this clock and will be able to control this clock a lot better, obviously a lot better than last year, leaving our defense more rested throughout the game, even late. So I have to go with my gut here. If Nebraska can control the clock and limit Colorado's possessions like North Dakota State did, like the Huskers did versus UTEP, and they keep Shadur in the pocket and put pressure on him, they'll win this game. But if you give Sanders and Hunter time at the end of the game and they're within striking distance, I feel then that Sanders and Hunter will pull this out. So put your foot down, put your foot on the pedal, and take it to them. And since I feel we will control the clock, and Raiola is about to show them he's not your typical true freshman, like I've always said, I feel the defense will do well since they won't be on the field as much as they were last year. So I'm giving this game to the Huskers. I'm going to give it to Nebraska 31-24. I really did go back and forth on this, and I feel this is a game that Colorado can win. So if Nebraska can take care of those 5 keys, they should come out with a W. Now, tell me in the comments below, what do you think? What are your top 5 keys for the Huskers? Do you think Colorado's going to win or Nebraska's going to win? Tell me what you think. And if you want, you could also email me at jeff@bigredcountry.net. Tell me your opinion. And now for the recruiting news I talked about, as we got a big recruiting announcement. 6'3", 215-pound Dawson Merritt, the linebacker out of Overland Park, Kansas, is now coming on another visit to Lincoln. as he's coming to see the showdown between Colorado and Nebraska. And realistically, what better way to get a free ticket on the sideline at one of the biggest games of the year? Shoot, I don't blame him. But if you don't remember, Merritt is a 4-star linebacker, the 105th national player, and he at one time was down to Nebraska and Alabama. And I always felt he really wants to stay closer to home, but winning is important to him. So he went with Alabama. But after last week's game versus UTEP and what Nebraska showed, and the Huskers opened up their a few recruits' eyes with their performance. So now you see like 4-star wide receiver Cortez Mills, Nebraska's own tight end Chase Lofton, and now linebacker Dawson Merritt. Merritt has been to Lincoln several times. And I've always said if the Huskers can get a player on campus at least 3 or 4 times to Lincoln, then they'll get him. So my prediction is, especially if the Huskers can win this game, but if they play well, I feel like Dawson Merritt decommits from Alabama and ends up committing to the Huskers. And as you could see, Dawson Merritt is a 4-star linebacker, rated 93.06. Like I said, 105th nationally, 14th edge player nationally, and all the sites have him as a 4-star. So this would be a huge win, and I really think mainly how that defense does and how that defense shines and how them edge and linebackers play, we got a real good shot for him. So if Nebraska go out there and play well, hold Shador and them down, win the game for sure, I feel like this is one we could definitely get. And like always, don't forget to subscribe and click on notifications. And please smash that like button. It's always appreciated. See you guys at the game this weekend. Go Big Red.